There is a fabulous magnum opus in 12 volumes, no less. A Dance to the Music of Time, Anthony Powell. Phenomenal, phenomenal. Stupefying, enchanting, exhilarating, ecstatic, divine. And I was thinking that I danced to the music of time, of my time. In communism, that was somber, that was, I don't know, Chopin, melancholic, sad, depressing, really the funereal. I mean, okay. We did have some parties. I think I mentioned already when mother was gone for some days, maybe a week. I think she went with my sister to the Black Sea, maybe. And as soon as she was gone, I said, cold. It wasn't easy. I mentioned that also before. You had to queue in front of a public phone. Most of them didn't work. Most of the people didn't have, especially in that district, a phone, so they were forced to do what I did, and we had to wait after one after the other to see. It was such a pain. Calling was such a pain. People don't get this. I mean, now with a phone, which can do this too, in the pocket, smartphone, no less. And we would party. And I mentioned in the previous episode at one point there was this crazy girl who had a desire. Was she nymphomania or was this just psychological? As if for nymphomaniacs it's not psychological. Desire, but she went from me to Adrian, then to Liviu, and eventually to Răzvan. Maybe at the end it was the other way around, Răzvan first. Nevertheless, she was somewhat crazy. We were too. We were crazier. I don't know. And there was some joy in the sea of sadness. There were bubbles. There were some occasions, some landings on exotic islands where we could. Well, as you see, we came away. We came 1.7 kilometers from to do this for you, our absent viewer. And I will have to move to Sherika. I was planning this some time ago because she had a connection with Norocel. At one point, these characters meet through yours truly somehow. So we did this trip together to Unumai on the 1st of May. On the 1st of May, to I don't think it was the Unumai. The 1st of May resort. They had something like that. They have a series of resorts on the Black Sea coast, and one is called Unumai 1st of May, but we weren't there. I think we might have been in Neptune. It's irrelevant, so let's move on. Sherika was an important girl in my life. She should have been more important. The purpose of this is to try and see what happened. Sometimes, once in a while, to think a little about what might have been. So the idea of being perhaps married to her would have been an interesting scenario to contemplate. Anyway, because for one thing, she was a kind, gentle, understanding, tolerant girl. Once in a while, she could be fierce. I remember at the Black Sea, we went on a camp. The first year in university, I guess the second maybe. The first year being up there, top marks, good, serious, concentrated, interested, more important. I got some benefits a scholarship, and then those with good activity, that is high, good marks or something, could apply for this. And I did, and I got 2 or 3 or so. One was Black Sea. Oh, that was. Oh, we went with Adrian there. I think Adrian had this from Pitești or something with this Termina, with this Cristi Bucurenci guy. And then I had it in Predal, and we moved all together there. And then I also had Slănic Moldova once, I think. Well, let's skip some of those details and say that at one point I was, once I lost virginity, I went wild, crazy. So I was with Sherika, but I was ready to fuck with hundreds more. I eventually did, but that's not to brag. That's just what happened, and I will get there. It's not because of an irresistible attraction, as in I hear 50 Shades of Grey. This guy who's successful, who's by the way, Jordan Peterson has these lectures which are free and more than worth watching and listening to. And he says that women peel off the men who have success. They let them compete, and they select from the top, from the top hierarchy, because these would be better for the continuation of their genes, for their successors, so to say. And they basically reject 85% of us men. They say we're not competitive enough or something like that. If I remember well, I have to return and listen, watch more. So, speaking of determination, at one point at the Black Sea, that's Costinăști, the youth resort. While with her, we were there, but we did this. We went on the beach at the nudist section, and I met this woman somehow while we were eating. She was there, and I could try and go to the washroom or something. And any occasion I had, and on the sea there was a favorable element, favorable atmosphere, and sun, light, heat, I don't know, pheromones, I don't know what else. So you're here, and what do you do? You're a librarian. I don't know what I have this as a librarian, and let's meet. We'll meet tonight, yes. And we fixed a date for 9 o'clock or so. So the idea was for me to sneak out somehow, 10 o'clock, I think, like. And we were doing games. She found out about this. There's a woman waiting for me on a bench not far from the motel. And so she went out and she said something like, îl aștepți pe Realini? Da, nu mai vine. You're waiting for Realini. That's me. Yes, he's not coming anymore. So she was, when she could determine, a wonderful girl. And in this scenario, I can contemplate sometimes. She could have been a wife, mother of children. In fact, she was. She became pregnant, and she had to have a something like a vicious abortion. I will come to that tomorrow or sometime. You never know with me how I digress and arrive at the proposed planned destiny sometime in the near future or next year. Nu avem cai, atunci pe curând. So she might have been much more flexible, much more tolerant. I don't know. That was an interesting dynamic for some time. Uh, she was. She also had this soft, this irony, subtle irony, this special intelligence, this sensitivity, this what nobility. Also, she was funny. We took one of her mo. We kept using it. I'm guessing even after we broke up, I was the vicious. I mean, I was in a way it was proper because I was too much into debauchery, too perverse, too. I mean, as I said, in one alternative, yes, this relationship could move on because she was tolerant, but there's one thing to be tolerant of some innuendos, some affairs, but the point then was to be Roman style orgies. I mean, and they didn't happen. I mean, not with so many together simply because we couldn't organize. I didn't have the means. I didn't have, even if, in fact, as I mentioned with that girl, I mean, she would do me, she would do Adrian, and then she would do, not at the same time, but then in the same night, not in the same night, but I don't know, a couple of nights. So there were some moments of. And then there was this girl, we suggested to her that, okay, we both like her, so she's the lucky one. She will have two excellent boyfriends at the same time. And it was brief menage a trois then, and not, we didn't, it wasn't simultaneous, but still. Well, I see there's material, so I will still be here doing this this time next year.